you all for coming to the Star Trek press conference. Round of applause for this fantastic cast of characters. Should we open up to questions?
You guys need a microphone. Just raise your hand. Yeah.
My question is for you, Brian Filler. How are you? It's great to see this great panel of so many friends that I've known for my whole life here. But this was a big deal. This panel, we finally got our first look at the new Star Trek show, Star Trek Discovery, which is very exciting. And my question, Brian, and for Rod, is how much was the design of the Discovery influenced by early drawings for the movie Enterprise back in the day?
To a point that we can't legally comment on it until we figure out some things.
Hi, we're from Scripters Green, UC Santa Barbara. This question is for Brett Spiner and Michael Dorn. We're doing an event with Michael Westmore next month. An event with Michael Westmore honoring his artwork. So what was the process of working with makeup with Michael Westmore for both the films?
It was the most constant thing about doing the show. Every morning at 5:45, I would come in the makeup trailer and meet Michael Westmore, who is an absolute genius and one of the greatest guys. And he set a tone in that he started the day with that was so peaceful and calm, and I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he was one of the things that I remember is that he did the makeup of the first Rocky movie, and that's why I made a little bit part in that thing. And but you just got a sense of the history of the Westmores when you're working with him. Like, there's nothing you can do to top what he's seen. So you just kind of sit there and enjoy it, you know. And he created my makeup, but then he handed it off to a couple of others, wonderful makeup artists that have gone on and done great things themselves. And he concentrated on Brent. So it was, but like Brent said, you know, mine was 4:30 in the morning the first time, and it was insane. But he helped you get through it, because he kind of looked at you like, yeah, come on, whatever, you know. It's not my parents did Frankenstein where Boris Karloff, you know, had to go home in this makeup, you know. So no. Stand up and talk.
We can hear you.
Talk loud.
We'll repeat it.
Adam here, First Speed News. Question for Brian and Murai. My first speed is growing up with this question from Trek fans. Is your new show in the Prime or 2000 timeline? And when in that timeline, does it take place?
It is in the Prime timeline, and I don't think we're supposed to say yet because there's so many new things about the series that we're trying to step out the information that we give, because there's a lot of new exciting things that we're doing with this show, and we want to not saturate you, we want to tease you. That's the first tease, is the title and the ship.
Michael Adele from the Sydney Morning Herald. A question for Brian specifically. Where do you find the tone for your new Star Trek, but for all of you, for the shows that you were connected to collectively or individually, what is the essential quality that they have individually or collectively that kind of made them unique?
Could you raise your hand, whoever asked that question, so I could look at you? Oh, okay, thank you. You know, I am very fortunate to have fantastic partners and a fantastic team on Star Trek. The show is being co-showrun by Gretchen Berg and Aaron Harberts, who I worked with on Pushing Daisies and Wonderballs, and we have a long, wonderful relationship together, and I couldn't do it without them, absolutely, honestly. And we have a wonderful writing staff that includes Nicholas Meyer, and what a treat to be working with that man, who Mr. Shatner worked with, and is responsible for great Star Trek storytelling with 2 and 4 and 6. And Jesse Alexander, who I worked with on Heroes and Hannibal, so I'm very well supported by fantastic people.
Jason Stewart, Dark Media Online. First for Bill, you've kind of seen this whole phenomenon grow.
What?
I just had a question about the phenomenon of Star Trek, your role in it. Sorry, I don't mean to be overfamiliar with Mr. Shatner. I just feel that calling you Bill just feels bashful. Just curious about your whole overseeing of this. It's been 50 years of this phenomenon of Star Trek. Your role in it, your nurturing of it, your taking place in it. What's the one thing that you would want fans to know about what the experience has been like being James E. Kirk for so many years?
I usually treat those things like with humor and slough it off because it's such a remarkable thing to be connected with. But in this instance, with so many of you and the advent of the new series, let me take it more seriously. I'm doing a show I'm doing a show called The Truth is in the Stars, and what I'm doing is I'm interviewing a lot of interesting and some cases well-known people. I'm culminating with Stephen Hawking. So I'm getting to meet some of the most remarkable people that are alive today that are guiding our lives in a way with information and discovery, and then it trickles down to us ordinary people. But there are things afoot that are affecting our lives completely. And the line of this show is, how did Star Trek affect you? And then amplify it. But what did Star Trek do to you when you were 50 years younger? How did it affect you? And all these people were affected by Star Trek, important people. You know, it's a television series, and we take it, I shouldn't be taking it too seriously. It's a lot of fiction, but at the same time, science fiction is mythology. And it tries to tackle those things that we can't explain. The Greeks picked up these large bones and thought of them as giants. We now know that they were dinosaur bones. They said, this has to be a race of giants. And they invented a whole mythology about the giants and the gods and the wars. We've invented through science fiction a mythology. And Star Trek is a huge part of that. So many great science fiction writers had ideas for Star Trek if they didn't write exactly for Star Trek. So in this 50 years, this mere television show, various iterations, have expanded to affect a great deal of our culture, far beyond anything we know. I mean, I wrote a book called I'm Working on That, based on Stephen Hawking's statement when he walked into the set of Star Trek and saw these cheesy boards painted to look like what's the stuff we use for energy? Dilithium crystal. Dilithium crystal. It's a device. That's how we were able to go so fast to cover the vast distances of space. Yet, Stephen Hawking said, I'm working on that, and I wrote a book on it. I'm working on that. I mean, it's just, it goes out in waves, and it seems somewhat innocuous, it's just a television show. But in this case, this phenomenon that has lasted 50 years, and we're talking about another thing that's coming this way, and the people whose lives were affected, not just people connected with the show, the legions of people that have watched the show. I mentioned in the panel that I did a documentary called The Captains. I started with The Captains, and I thought, God, I go to all these places and
find these actors. It's going to cost more on airplanes than I've got the budget to make the film. So I cold called Bombardier Airplanes, Canadian airplane manufacturer. Can I speak to the CEO? CEO, can I speak to him, please? Who's calling Shaq? Oh, Shaq, he comes home. I said to Shaq, oh, Shaq, I got this problem. I got $250,000 worth of flight, and I need an airplane. He says, I'll give it to you. You'll give it to me. The airplane ultimately calls me. I land on the tarmac in Toronto, and this guy comes out, head of Bombardier. I said, well, thank you. I became an aeronautical engineer because of Star Trek. And now I'm head of Bombardier, and I'm letting you do this airplane. That kind of thing out of a mere television show. That's what the meaning of Star Trek really is.
Well said, sir.
My question is for Heather. I'm wondering, as one of just 2 women that's been announced so far working on Star Trek Discovery, do you feel sort of responsibility to the fans to make sure that women are represented both on the screen and behind the scenes?
Definitely. There's actually 3 of us, just to clarify, because Kirsten Beyer, myself, and Brian.
I'll take that one.
But yes, I've been really fortunate to work on a lot of genre things nothing as important and with such a legacy as Star Trek. And I think what I've found when I've done Comic-Con panels, I remember the first one I was on was for Sleepy Hollow, and to see so many female fans looking at me and feeling like, wow, it's one thing, it's amazing to be a female actress in this genre, but to be a female behind the scenes in this genre. And that really stuck with me, and a lot of women had come up to me at that time, and I take it really seriously. And fortunately, so does Brian, and a lot of the way he approaches the story. You could hear it by the way, if you were fortunate enough to hear the panel, approaches all of his storytelling prior to Trek. I think it was probably all inspired by your fandom of Star Trek and how it means, what it means to include everybody. But yes, I think as a female, you'll see when you start to hear